Kia ora, my friends, and welcome back to Drop Balls and Big Calls. Today's guest is Carol Beaumont. Carol is the co-founder of Her Courage Speaks over in New Zealand, a platform built to empower women through the power of storytelling. Carol's story is one of resilience, honesty, and courage. She opens up about what it's like living with a partner struggling with addiction, the toll it took on her identity, and the hard but necessary path of self-discovery. What struck me most was her ability to turn personal pain into a movement that supports others. In this conversation, we talk about the strange feeling of finding peace after years of chaos, the role of the community in healing, and why sharing our stories can unlock strength we didn't know we had. Enjoy. Carol Beaumont, welcome to Drop Balls and Big Calls.
Hi, how are you?
Very good, thank you. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Nice one. Thank you so much for joining me today. And it's nice and early in the morning. I think this is actually the first time I've recorded in the morning on this podcast. It's about 9:30 New Zealand time. How's things over in North Canterbury? I'm definitely missing home, and hearing the Kiwi accent's lovely.
Well, we've got a sunshiny day today, so that's good.
Awesome, mate. Awesome. So, Carol, you reached out to me after hearing one of our earlier episodes with Lauren Gibbs. What made you want to reach out and join us on this podcast?
So Lauren is a friend of mine, and she was really nervous about sharing her story and contacted me after talking with you. And I had just spoken to her about how proud of her I am, because that is my whole kaupapa, is sharing your stories to make sure that other people know that it's okay to share their stories. And by doing so, you're helping someone who is afraid know that there's other people going through the same thing. And I really felt like, wow, she's doing it. I need to do it more. And I mean, I already do with what my job is. But yeah, and looking up what your podcast does, I was like, wow, I relate to that so much. What he's doing is what I'm doing in a different way. Let's connect.
I love it. And you are co-founder of Her Courage Speaks. We'll come to that story a little bit later on, but you have turned some deeply personal and painful chapters into a mission that's inspiring women all over North Canterbury or New Zealand, really. Today's about giving space to that lived experience, Carol. So maybe we'll start with something light. If your journey was a song right now, Carol, what would it be?
Oh, I am a big drum and bass girl, and I absolutely, my favorite is Becky Hill. Her lyrics speak to me just in all of them. I feel like she must have gone through some stuff herself, because all of her songs relate. But Disconnect would be my favorite, and it's all about how you let go of everything that's happened to you and live in the moment and dance with your people. And that's how you get through the day, is by, yeah, really letting your brain not think of everything, and just dancing and music in general is such a vital thing for me in particular, and humans in general. Yeah, so I think any Becky Hill song I would relate really hard to.
I love it. That's so good. Now, Carol, how would you describe yourself to others that perhaps don't know you?
I am organized chaos. I live my life to the fullest. I'm pretty out the gate. I move quickly. I'm fun and a bit wild, and um, super loving, and I just love to live balls to the wall, really.
So let's go back for a little bit here. So you spent nearly 20 years loving someone struggling with alcoholism,
Yeah,
and
I did.
that's a tough role that nobody really prepares you for, right?
Mhm.
Tell us about, I guess, what do your friends and your mentors think about who you were during that time when we reflect back?
Um, I mean, I still was heavily myself during that time. I was I was living two lives. I had the me who I showed up as and held together and almost pretended to keep being, and then the me who was struggling to stay afloat, swimming just under the surface, like drowning a little bit, well, a lot, um, holding everything in, not letting everybody know what I was really like. And it wasn't until I just about collapsed that I started letting people see that inside I was really drowning. So yeah, I was probably two versions of myself for a very long time.
Mm. When did you first start, I guess, noticing the patterns of alcoholism, and how was it affecting you at the time?
Um, we were childhood sweethearts, so we were together since we were 15. Initially, the culture is that drinking is really normal, especially as a young person. Drink all the time, every weekend is a party. For a very long time, I didn't even know it was alcoholism. It's not until you start growing up and having more responsibilities and everyone around you starts settling down a bit more, and it it just that's not how your life is going, um, and it starts affecting your trust and your stability and your your home life and everything like that, and then you start thinking, this is not just fun anymore. Yeah.
Partners in those circumstances can often become quite invisible, and you actually mentioned before you had these sort of two versions of yourself. That must have been difficult.
Um, yeah, I didn't know it at the time, but I have ADHD. I didn't discover that until recently as I was going through the process of getting my son diagnosed, and the more that we learned about him, the more that it went ding ding, oh, okay, I recognize all of this. And so I think because of that, I don't have the capability to tone myself down. Um, I just am hyperactive and full of beans no matter what. So even though I was living in a circumstance that required me to slow down and not be about myself so much, I also didn't have the capability to do that because that's just my brain. So I yeah, and at the time, I didn't know that. I didn't know that that's what my brain was like, and I always thought that I was part of the problem, that me being out so much and outgoing and out the gate was sort of the reason, like, I sort of blamed myself a little bit.
Really, like when you say outgoing and out the gate, like did you feel responsible for those sort of nights out in many ways?
Yeah, a lot, and also, like, I have a lot of, I suppose it would be called shame about being hard to be around because I'm hard to keep up with. I have a million thoughts a minute, I start a million businesses a minute. Like I I feel like that his drinking was to handle me. Um or being around me was a lot, and so you deserve a drink at the end of the day to, and it wasn't just coming from me. I was also told that I was a lot to be around and that I need a drink to deal with you kind of thing.
Really?
Yeah, so I still feel hard to be around, and I don't know if that's just trauma embedded in me now, and yeah, that over 20 years of being felt like you're the cause of someone's addiction will kind of linger with you.
I just want to make it really clear that I know now that I'm not to blame for someone else's alcoholism or addiction. No one can cause someone to be an addict.
Yeah. So you obviously have this entrepreneurial mindset. You're very driven, you're ambitious, and clearly, highly functioning.
Hmm.
Do you remember what that self-talk was like before all this manifested itself?
Yeah, I've always felt like I'm a lot. I've always heard, like, settle down and be happy with what you've got, and you always want more, and you're always looking for the next thing. And so, and it's true, I'm always looking for the next adrenaline hit or the next dopamine. And um, that's something I've had all my life. I just never knew that it was ADHD, and now I do, and I've done a lot of self-reflecting, and it's made me look back at my entire childhood and entire life thinking, gosh, I wonder how differently I would have handled things if I had that knowledge now.
Turned out to be your superpower in a way, though, hasn't it?
Totally, it is now, and I love it. Like, I embrace it, and I've learned ways to manage things, and I think knowing it means that I can educate people around me about what to expect and what triggers me the most, and when I'm hyperfixed on something, to just let me. Or yeah, and being able to have the language to go with it is super helpful.
100%. I think you were talking about that sort of ambition and looking for the next dopamine hit. Like, I think Kiwis are a very and I'm one, so I think Kiwis are a very just reserved nation. I think they kind of struggle with the idea of you having that ambition and wanting to sort of, I guess, grow and climb to a higher place. Did you find that with your peers?
Um, no, I don't think so. I think I've always had a solid group of friends who have pushed me. I'm fun to be around, so everybody knows me as, well, she's going to take me on an adventure, I'll stick with her. So I think I've always been encouraged to keep chasing that dopamine because I bring the people around me along with them.
And so back to your relationship, were you able to approach him and talk to him about how you were feeling in this time?
Yeah, 100%. He actually was really good at speaking to me about it. We had thousands of conversations around addiction and his drinking, and he actually tried we tried everything we could possibly think of to help him on his journey to recovery. And he was um, really receptive to trying to get better. Um, and yeah, our health system really failed him. Um, he got pushed away every which way we tried, pretty much. They It was a regular occurrence for the health system to say it's not bad enough yet, um, and you function too much. It's not affecting you enough, which is ridiculous because ultimately he lost everything, and it shouldn't get it shouldn't have to be that bad before you can reach help.
It's unbelievable. It's such a familiar story that I hear, um, and it really belittles what you were both going through as well. Like, it was clearly affecting family life and everything around you. To have your situation belittled like that, saying you're too high functioning.
Hmm.
What does that mean? How did you feel in that moment?
It's just hopelessness. You hit a brick wall every which way you turn. And what, do you have to be homeless to and to get help? And it's a kind of a circle. you'd get through to someone and they'd refer you to the next person, and then they'd refer you to the next person, and then suddenly you'd end up back where you started. And you just, it's exhausting. And when someone in addiction tells you that they're ready for help, they might only feel ready in that brief moment of bravery, and then you're told there's a 6-week wait for this. And then in 6 weeks, they could be in full relapse again. And by the time that comes around, I'm suddenly not in that brave moment anymore. And then you're back to square one. And it's just really sad and exhausting.
What do you wish people understood about the emotional wear of a situation like that, and being a partner in a situation like that?
I think that being a partner of someone who is an addiction, they don't understand that there's no help for you. Like, there's barely enough help for an addict on their own, let alone any resources for anyone supporting someone with them. Um, so, yeah, that's really my passion with Her Courage, is that I'm trying to create the resources that I didn't have, which is the yes, I want to help the addicts themselves, but I also, my story is of being a supporter and a family member of one, so I can speak more to that version of the story. And I just wish there was more help for the person helping someone.
Absolutely. So you eventually made the decision to leave that relationship, which takes immense courage. Like, for considering what you'd been through and the length of time that had passed at this point. Was there a single moment or a feeling that made you choose or start to, I guess, form those decisions?
Yeah, I mean, there was. I also had got to the point where I had literally tried every single thing I could possibly think of. We had done all of the things. We had done AA, we had done counselling, online groups, rehab, anti-abuse, which is for people that don't know, it's the pill that you take that makes you physically ill if you do drink alcohol, um, which didn't work. We had tried, yeah, I'd got to the point where I'd tried everything. We'd tried trial separations. I had tried to leave multiple times, um, and I tried to support from far away. I tried, yeah, I think that I needed to get to the point where I was like, I can't, there's nothing else left to try. Um, and it was actually a New Year's Eve, and I had got home, and he had spent the money that I had been saving for going to visit my sister in Australia who had just had a new baby, so my very first nephew, and there was a boat in my driveway, and I just flipped. It's like, because meeting my first nephew was really important to me, and I just got to the point where you know what, I can't take this shit into a new year. I'm just not doing it anymore. And then all of a sudden, I had this staunch bravery underneath me that went, nah, I'm done. And I, that for the first time ever, I stayed solid in that decision, and just, I didn't really look back from that point. I just started focusing on what I need to do next to get myself and my living situation secure for our kids.
Yeah, it's a lot. You mentioned losing yourself along the way, and so what were those first steps like? I guess the most important thing for you in that moment was again finding that safe space for you and your kids, right? But what was the first steps you took in, I guess, learning how to be you again?
I had to learn how to trust my intuition. I had I'd been gaslit so much into thinking that what I was experiencing wasn't right, that I didn't know, I didn't believe my own thoughts anymore. Like when you're told, uh, like I would, the conversation of, have you been drinking today? Was quite regular. And so you're often told, no, I haven't, or um, to the point where I was told that the so the symptoms of drinking emulate diabetes, and so I had been led down the path of thinking it's not drunkenness, it's diabetes, to the point of doctor's appointments and proving that it's the same symptoms and the fuzziness and the low blood sugar in your is the same sort of symptoms as being drunk. And so when you're taken on these paths of like self-doubt and doubting your own sanity, and I I don't think that I believed my own thoughts to be true. Like I obviously knew that it was drunkenness and not diabetes, but you're being so gaslit that you question your own mind. And that's just one example of that happening. Obviously, this was over a very long period of time. So it builds over all the years of you, and you're like, did that happen, or am I wrong? And did this happen, or is my perception of it wrong? And so when I got to the part where I had to start thinking for myself again, I would constantly question my own mind. And so it took some unlearning to be able to trust my own intuition again. Does that make
I
sense?
can, yeah, and I can imagine that sort of progress isn't linear either.
Yeah, and you also have triggers that trigger you back into like feeling like weak again as well. So you're battling your turmoil of like, I can do this, no, I can't do this. Yeah, I can do this, no, I can't do this. So it's just a constant backwards and forwards of you fighting with your own brain.
What were those triggers?
Um, well, for a very long time, I couldn't handle the sound of a beer can opening. Um, just even the thought of it would send shivers down my spine. I can handle it now. Um, people hanging out in the garage would send me into a frenzy because obviously, well, that is a lot of where the drinking would happen. So anytime anyone would be in my garage, I would have anxiety or panic. Yeah, just a lack of control. Like when I'm not in control of something, I feel uneasy, and I I still have that quite a bit. Um, yeah.
Were you really conscious as well about who you sort of had around you in these moments as well? Like when you made the decision to move out on your own with your kids, and I guess that process of discovering yourself again, like what supports did you have around you? Were you really conscious about who those people were?
Um, well, firstly, I didn't move out. I maintained the house.
Oh,
House.
sure.
Um, but no, pretty much my friends. Well, I was really conscious not to let my family too close. They actually didn't. I kept a lot of stuff from them, so they never really knew how bad it was. And you do always have in the back of your mind that, oh, what if we get back together and then I have to like mend all of that as well. So I was quite conscious to not involve my family too heavily. But in general, my friend group, they'd all been trying to get me to leave for a long time. So they were in the sidelines just waiting to support me when I was ready. So I definitely had a lot of physical support ready and waiting that jumped in to help the second that they had the chance to.
Yeah. So as time goes on, you start to create a vision, and you co-founded Her Courage Speaks to fundamentally shine a light on stories like yours and to find those supports. When did you meet Michelle?
So Michelle and I have been friends for probably 10 years now. Um, she's a dance teacher, and my kids all dance through her dance school, and she started a dance class for women called the Hot Mamas, and so I joined that. And her husband was also friends with my ex-husband, and so we all knew each other, and she was probably in my inner circle when we were going through all our crap. And so her and her husband were super helpful to me when I needed them. And yeah, she's been on a bit of a journey herself, and she actually got hit by a truck, which obviously is life-changing for a dance teacher. And so our stories of trauma were heavily intertwined by our friendship. And yeah, obviously for her, she needed to pivot her career a little because dancing can no longer be her main income. Although she's amazing and was dancing again within 6 months in a wheelchair nonetheless, but she has astounded all the odds and is incredible to be still dancing. But yeah, she sort of had been asked to talk about her story, and we sort of got together and thought we could really make something of this and talk about our journeys individually but together. And through Hot Mamas, we already had a really strong base of women in a community to sort of be the grounding platform to test it out on. And yeah, it just kind of really evolved from there.
And you had done no public speaking yourself at this point, had you?
No, no. I work in marketing and events, so I'm quite confident in a group of people, and I I'm a natural chatter. So, and I generally have no qualms with public speaking, but I hadn't ever spoken in that kind of platform before. Certainly not about anything so personal.
When that started to come to fruition, what did that first event feel like to you, and voicing your story for the first time?
It was incredible, actually. It was really healing. We sold out and had an incredible room full of women who were applauding us for sharing our stories. And it was really, even just writing my speech was really cathartic. Like, I had multiple versions before I settled on the final speech. So getting it all out on paper and like documenting my journey was quite healing. And honestly, I could write my speech 50 times over. I haven't even delved into so much of my journey. There's so much more I could touch on. So yeah, it's just like not only is it offering healing for other people and an insight into what it is like and how to get through it, but it's also been really healing for me.
Incredible. So you sold out your first event. You've run some amazing events since that day.
Hmm.
And you, like you mentioned, you opened with your own story at that event, not as an expert, but as a seeking mum, from what what I've heard from you.
Hmm.
Why do you think that kind of honesty is so important right now?
Because it's real and it's relatable and it can happen to anybody. And I think that there is a power in just being a regular person. Like, I don't come at this from uh like I don't have a degree in psychology. I'm just someone who has done the research for myself. I've spent hours and hours learning about addiction and alcoholism purely because I needed to learn about it because I was in the thick of it. And so I have learned it from a completely different perspective, a lived experience. And I think that it's so much more relatable to listen to someone who is just like them.
Your website speaks of coupling emotional storytelling with well-being and connection.
Hmm.
Can you give us I guess a tangible example of how a live session would unfold? What does it look like?
So I speak my story and Michelle speaks hers, and then we have a Q&A session. And so our audience is encouraged to ask us questions, and this gives them the opportunity to kind of relate it back to what they need from it. And also we mingle and chat at the end individually with people. And so we get a really like one-on-one sort of intimate experience with our attendees, and it just creates like a community and a vibe, and everybody is all like, yeah, me too, and yeah, I've had this, and it just creates this movement where we all feel like we're in it together, and that once we start talking to each other about the hard stuff and not just fluffing through small talk, we all relate on one level or another, and you can find something with a stranger that you didn't even you would just walk past the street before. Like, once you drop talking about the weather, you can find commonality with anyone, and that's really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you've obviously supported and had those conversations with, I can imagine, hundreds, if not thousands, of women by now.
Yeah.
Is there particular or a couple of particular stories that stand out to you that you've heard? I guess about the impact that you've been able to make on someone's life through this forum.
Yeah, I actually had an email after, might have been our second event, um, from she had attended, and she had attended because her friend was with an alcoholic, and she had messaged me to say that after the event, she'd spoken to her friend and about my journey, and they'd been through some stuff, and she actually said that she's left him and that she's doing really well, and that she had found a new place and got a new job. And I was just like gobsmacked that she'd come back to me and said that it had spiraled because of our event, and she made sure to contact me and let us know, which is huge. It's like, wow, I've actually reached someone. And I know that I've reached more than one person, but that to that extent, and it's just quite humbling. And if I can help just one person, then that's enough for me. I know that the trickle effect, how it just keeps going beyond our event.
So you come from a marketing background. I can imagine that laid some wonderful foundations to be able to launch something like this and market it to a particular group. Did you and Michelle have a particular audience in mind for this business, and what did it look like, I guess, in the early formations of it?
I mean, I think our audience has always been women, and sort of what we relate to the most is middle-aged mums, just because that's our own um, where we are in life. And we haven't really, we've just kind of been going with it as it flows naturally. So we haven't really gone too deep in where this goes next. Michelle still has health issues with her leg and is constantly going through the next step of her pain management, and we sort of just take it as it comes and work together in a way that is flexible for both of us. Also, I have a job, a, a regular job as well, so this is my passion project, and so it allows it to build at a pace we're both ready for. And while we both have really big dreams and ideas for it, we're just seeing how it naturally unfolds.
How has your friendship evolved throughout this? It's one thing, obviously being friends, and then a different thing altogether going into a business partnership together. How has your friendship evolved throughout this time?
We actually worked together quite early in our friendship. I did the marketing for her dance school, so we already knew that we were a good team when it comes to working together. But yeah, it's solidified our friendship. We're pretty good at saying to each other how it is, and neither of us take anything very personally. And we're both, I mean, obviously life's thrown some shit our way, so we're both really tough and sturdy and strong. So it's quite hard to penetrate us. So nothing's been too hard to talk about. Nothing's been a problem. We're a really good working team.
So good. So you've seemed to have really found a sense of peace, and you found love again as well, after all your trauma and what you've been through. What's the thing that surprised you most throughout this journey?
I think that the thing that surprised me is how hard it is to accept peace. I have got so accustomed to living in chaos and despair that feeling happy was really unfamiliar. And so it's taken me a long time to kind of accept a healthy relationship. I spent a lot of time like pushing it away or thinking that I'm not worthy of it or creating the chaos myself, because it it feels I feel safer in chaos than I do in peace. So I think learning to accept peace and calm has been the thing that I found quite difficult.
How were you able to sort of let that in eventually?
I'm still working on it. I still have the ability to cause chaos, um, but I do a lot of learning. I'm super interested in psychology. I'm learning about trauma-informed somatic um, healing, and I really am interested in eventually doing some one-on-one coaching myself. I think that's where I'd like to take Her Courage, is to more one-on-one working with people like me, using my lived experience to help in a more intimate way. So I'm really filling myself with the education around the psychology of what happens in your brain after trauma, the neuroscience behind it all. So that's kind of where I'm doing my learning, and I'm studying at the moment.
You're pretty determined for self development and growth, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I think that I don't like to sit still. I'm always I'm always on the go, and that includes my brain. My brain can't sit still either. So I'm always like, what can I fill it with next? And I've really found my passion in that. So I might as well go with it. It's where I want to be. I'm healing myself at the same time, and I'm learning the language that helps me explain it to the people around me as well.
We all have days where things are getting really on top of us, and coming back to your ADHD diagnosis, so it's allowed you to, I guess, look at things with a different lens. What are some of those tools that you've developed to manage some of these, I guess, more stressful times?
I write a bazillion lists. Getting things out of my brain and down into the notes of my phone is huge. I find that once I write everything down, I don't hold it within me as much. Movement and dancing and exercising are a huge, huge form of self-care for me. I can literally feel it when I haven't done it enough. So I make sure that I get to the gym and I get to dance, and I live music is really healing for me. Nature, all the things that everybody always tells you to do, the basics: get sunshine, get fresh air, move your body, eat well. It's not just a cliche. Those are the things that actually are what is good for your body and brain.
Yeah, it's so easy not to do those things in the way the world is these days, when you're surrounded by constant distractions, right? And I always say to my friends here in Melbourne, like, there is nothing more cathartic to me than going home to New Zealand and sitting, I say, somewhere like Castle Hill, for example, in the middle of the mountains where there's no noise and fresh air, and it's it's so cathartic just being out in nature, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's being able to get into that mindfulness. I don't even know if that's the word, mindfulness, that you actually are aware of your situation as well. Like, that you feel your feet on the grass and that you breathe the fresh air and notice what that feels like and acknowledge your surroundings. So it's not just being in it, it's being grateful for it and noticing it as well.
Amen. You've said that you're not much for the word resilience, and that
Mhm.
you'd much be rather called a badass, which you definitely are. So we'll clear that up. What makes you what makes you label it that way?
Um, I do. I have a hatred for the word resilience. I feel like resilience is it's like the latest in word, and you really don't. It's one of those things that you don't just get. You have to get it because you're put in situations where you have no choice but to deal with stuff. And so it's not something that you're proud to have. Like, you'd rather not go through those circumstances. You'd rather not have to be resilient. Like, it, and everybody speaks on it as such a positive thing. And for anyone who has had to build resilience, you go, I hate that. I would rather I didn't have to be resilient. I'd rather be soft. And yeah, so I just, I think it gets used too much by people who haven't really experienced what it actually means. And it's sort of forced upon you as this badge of honor, when really you're like, I'd rather not wear this badge of honor. Even though it is a good thing to have, I just think that the wording that frames it doesn't make you feel like it's something worth having. So that, yeah.
More, maybe courage is more the word.
Yeah, or just like, yeah, like, badass. You're a badass.
Badass. Yeah.
Yes, you did that. Yeah,
Yeah. No,
yeah.
for sure. What's one small way you show up as a badass every day?
I am very much live your day as if it was your last every day. Do the most with your day as possible. I don't like to waste any minute of my day. I'm very live with purpose. I've lost people and seen what it's like to not get enough life. So I'm very much live your life, YOLO kind of person. And I think it takes quite a badass to do that, because you sort of get lost in your regular day-to-day living otherwise, and you can be very much a no person, because you've got that deadline due, or because you've got this, or because you don't have enough of this day. And so I like to live in the fact of, well, why can't I? Why can't I go out on a weeknight? Why can't I make an extra half an hour to do this? Why can't I, like, live every second of the day with purpose? Um, and I wish more people would do that.
Yeah, so I think a lot of it's some of those weird societal pressures too, right? Like, it sort of feels like you almost have to live that way at times in many
Mm,
ways. Otherwise, if you're doing, exactly like you said, if you're doing those things outside of the norms as someone our age, that people kind of look at you funny, like, why are you doing that? How do you
yeah.
find the time? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, it's as simple as, why can't you go to the beach on a rainy day? Is there a rule that says you only have to go to the beach in the sunshine? Like, just simple things where you can make these, and it doesn't even need to cost money. Like, yes, you can take your dogs for a walk at 10 p.m. because you're bored instead of sitting in front of the TV, you know? Like, it doesn't have to cost you money to live a little more.
I think having my daughter Willow really brought that back front of mind for me. Just like you used a great example before about beach on a rainy day, for example, like seeing her want to jump in a puddle, or a muddy puddle as she calls them because of Peppa Pig,
Yeah.
um, or run towards the water at the beach on a cloudy, cold, rainy, wintry Melbourne day. Like,
Yeah,
I love that there's just no fear, and the norms don't
yeah.
even matter. Like,
Kids
she
are
doesn't know
great
what
at
they are.
it. We should be more
Yeah,
like, what's the worst that gonna happen? You're gonna get cold. You go home and have a warm shower. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I love it. They definitely bring a little bit of that inner child back out of you again, don't they?
Mhm. And I don't think I ever lost that inner child.
I love that. That's good. What did having 3 kids teach you?
Patience. Patience is not my strong point. And I've had to learn to, uh, they all are very different individually, and so I've had to learn different strategies for each and every one of them. Um, and yeah, being patient is one of the things that I've had to learn the most, and sort of, yeah, putting other people's needs in front of yours, which is what, yeah, having children is the biggest thing that you have to do, is making sure they're cared for. But I absolutely love being a mum. My kids are my greatest achievement.
Yeah, I love that. Have you been able to instill them with any, I guess, values or ways of being a badass themselves from your lived experience?
Yeah, I mean, it's their lived experience too. Um, and I'm incredibly proud of them. They're all amazing. Unfortunately, they had to grow up a lot faster than other children their age. They've been through a lot more than what you'd expect children their age to go through, so they're really mature. Um, but we have the most amazing relationships because we have this blatant honesty about us. I've always been one to communicate the truth with them in an age appropriate way, but um, like, I don't see the benefits in pulling the rug over their eyes. Like, you kind of, they learn more by knowing what's actually going on rather than like making it up in their heads what they think might be going on, because regardless, they see and hear and feel more than you think they do. And so it's better to give them a age appropriate like answer to their questions rather than pretend it's not happening. Because they're gonna think things themselves, and what they think might be worse than what the truth is sometimes. And so, yeah, we've become really close by having really deep conversations and just being us real, true, honest selves with each other all the time. And yeah, the older they're getting, the more I'm finding that we all get along as individuals because we're all really ourselves.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. That's really cool. So, Carol, I'm going to go into a bit of a final five to wrap up. And yeah, we'll call it a bit of a courage check-in just to align with your business there. What's a moment where you dropped the ball, and what did it teach you?
I don't know. You'd be better asking my partner this. I tend to take on too much all at once. I have a bazillion things all going all at the same time, and I I I can't give every single thing my 100% when I'm running at that capacity. So I think that I'm learning to, well, I'm trying to learn to take on less and put in more into the into less things. So I think that is I'm starting to really focus on what's important to me.
What do you think? You know, you've made some big calls throughout your life, particularly over the last probably 5 to 10 years. What's the single biggest call you've made? Do you think that really changed the direction?
I mean, leaving my husband was the most monumental thing I've ever done. Um, it completely changed the trajectory of my life, um, and probably his. And yeah, I, I don't regret it either. I'm glad that I did it. I have changed the outcome for what my kids are growing up in. I've given them different role models, and I'm incredibly proud that they have a more stable life now.
Have you ever sort of looked back at that moment as with a bit of a sliding doors lens in terms of like what life might have looked like if you hadn't left?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, he actually passed away a couple of years ago, and so I I think, my gosh, how different life would have been if we had gone through losing him while we were still together. Like, losing him was hard enough as it is, and to think that I would have had to add sorting my life out on top of that, and it just I quite regularly think about how different it would have been if we were still together, and it, I I already felt the most incredible pain losing him. I can't even imagine how unbearable it would have been to lose him while we were still together. I just, yeah, I'm grateful that we were in a different situation than if we had stayed together, for everyone's sake.
When life has knocked you down, what's been your go-to move to get going again, to bounce back?
Dancing, music, uh, yeah, it's always something that cheers me up. It is what I look forward to. Having a gig to go to or something where I can dance it out is my healing, it's my happy place. Music has got me through so many things, whether it's sad lyrics and you just need to cry, or it's angry lyrics and you need to rage, or it's happy lyrics to pick you up. It's yeah, that's my go-to. And my new partner is actually the most beautiful singer and musician, so we have that in our life daily now, and it just
Really?
yeah, so it contributes so much to the vibe of our home. He actually sings at our Her Courage events now and sets the tone for the evening, so it's really nice to be able to do that together too.
Amazing. That's really cool. So if someone's listening to this right now, and most of our listeners are here in Australia and over in New Zealand, and they're going through their own journey, what would you say to them before they make their own big call, make their own big decisions?
That when you're in the pits of the darkness, it's really, really hard to see that there is anything else that exists. You tend to surround yourself with negative people or negative circumstances, or just you're in this difficult life. And I just think that it's really hard to imagine that it can get better. But once you step into, if all you have to do is make the tiniest step in the right direction and then just keep adding small steps, just little tiny things, the more that you head towards what you really want out of life, it is possible. And you open your eyes to worlds that you didn't even know existed. And then eventually you get to the point where you're only surrounding yourself in the good, and you can't imagine that darkness exists. So it's quite a turnaround. But yeah, I think it would just be to know that your current world doesn't have to stay the way that it is. There is always, always a way to change it.
Absolutely. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Carol. And where can people find you?
We are on Instagram, and my name is Her Courage Carol. We also have a website called hercourage.co.nz, and if you look up Her Courage on Facebook, we're on there as well.
Nice one. Well, we'll share all the links in the show notes when this comes out, so people can find you and attend some of your events coming up. But thank you so much for sharing your story today and yeah, being so open and honest through everything as well. I think what you're doing is amazing, and I know it's making an impact to a lot of people out there. And yeah, just genuinely wish you all the best on your journey with Her Courage, and yeah, hopefully our paths cross again one day soon, Carol.
Yeah, thank you. Keep doing what you're doing too. That's amazing.
That was Carol Beaumont. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Drop Balls and Big Calls. It means a lot that you are here. You know what will really help us is if you could like, follow, or subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast. It does help more than you'll ever know. You can contact us anytime through any of our social media channels. Just search Big Calls Pod. You can also email us, bigcallspod@gmail.com. Yeah, always after constructive criticism, feedback, yeah, the good bad, the ugly, podcast guest recommendations, you name it, we're after it. All of it helps us grow. And yeah, anyway, nonetheless, we just appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for listening.